Hey, what's up, everybody? $3.04 for XRP. What is happening? What are we doing here? Well, nothing really too exciting over the last few days, just a little bit of up and a little bit of down. But let's talk about what's important here. And what's important is that we broke above the supply line, or AKA the downward resistance line, or aka the trend line, whatever you want to say. But basically, we were in some danger, right? Why is it dangerous? Because this could have been a descending triangle, right? And descending triangles descend, right? They usually break to the downside. So in this case, we actually broke out, and now we're back testing in here. So if we can hold, we can then move up. You have a level down here, you have a level right here. We can move up another level, right? And if we look specifically, it's the Fibonacci retracement levels, right? So we perfectly pinpoint nailed the 50, and I would assume we should come up somewhere up here between 330, 350. So the question becomes, if they're going to lower rates, this is a news event, right? This is a situation where it could go either way on the day that they do it. But essentially, if we move up here and then that's when they cut rates, I'd be a little bit nervous. I'd be pretty nervous. But if we could stay down here and do like an A, B, C, and then they cut the rates, and then that would give us a nice move to the upside, right? So do they cut the rates down here, or do they cut the rates up here? If they cut the rates up here, it's going to just be more risky, right? I still think we can break out of here, but let's talk ideas for a minute. Because essentially, what we're looking at is, actually, let's put this right here. So if we do manage to get through the retracement levels, we're looking at, between 430 and say 450 as our next target, all the way up to $5, even $6. There's targets up there as well, but we could literally break out this week. So it could be on the horizon. It could happen this week, guys. So just be aware of that. But let's talk macro for just a second. Obviously, we're 1, 2, 3, 4. We're looking at a fifth wave here, right? So real quick, we still don't know if this is going to be a massive flat on this time frame. For example, if we have 3 waves down and we have 3 waves up, this could be 1, 2, and then we can come down for 3, and that would be 3 waves down, right? So 3 waves down, W, 3 waves up, X, 3 waves down, Y. What do we call that? A running flat. It's a running, this shape right here is a running flat. So that would actually be bearish in the short term between now and November. So hopefully we don't have to do that, unless you want to pick up more XRP. Let's see. Let's say that were to happen. What would be some of the downside targets? Well, I would just simply do this, and we're looking at probably 206. Between I would say $2 to $2.50. So somewhere in this zone here would be a good buy the dips situation if we were able to get that opportunity, right? So that's it for that. But if this is finished, then what are we looking at? We're looking at an expanded flat. It's done. It's finished. And we have a 1, 2. And then we have another 1. And then another 2. And then we should go up for our third wave. Now let's talk about what's going on here, because it could be a couple different things going on. For example, by the way, I'm going to give my opinions on the Charlie Kirk. He was a big influence in my life. I thought he was probably one of the biggest voices on the planet as far as conservatives go. He could debate anybody in the world, and he did. And it's just a shame, really sad. And but I feel like, well, let's just save that for later. So let's look at this. We have an impulse, right? And we have this three-way pullback. So I'm sorry. Yeah, well, let's zoom in and let's do this the right way, shall we? All right. So we have an impulse. We have, actually, you could look at this as 3 down, 3 up, and then 3 back down. So that could be 3. And then we have another 3 up. So you could say either AB or WX. And then we have, it looks like 3, and it looks like 3, and then it looks like 3. So you know what? It would actually be a WX 3, 3, 3Y. And it could be finished. So we have an impulse and a 3-way pullback. I don't really like the shape. It looks really good on XLM and a couple other charts, but I don't like the shape of it on XRP because we slightly broke the low. It just didn't give me that nice 3-way pullback. It was more like this. So it's okay, but it just didn't give me the shape that I like to see. So which begs the question, well, what if it's not finished? What if it's more complex? So the first idea is that this is an impulse, obviously, and this is a 3-way pullback, and we're done. And now this is the beginnings of our bull run. The alternative to this would be, and I said it when we were down here, we're probably going to go up and hit the high. If we do, it could be a flat. For example, if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's A, and then this is 3, and then this is 3, and now this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then this is a 3, 3, 5, then that would be a B. So A, B, C for B, right? And then if that is the case, then we could still have to come all the way back down for C, then go up, which would just essentially waste a bunch of time. I mean, we're going to go all the way up, then come all the way down, then go all the way up. It's like, okay, did we really have to do that? Yes. Why? Because human emotions have to play out, right? Just look at the emotions of assassination. What happens? Shock. And then awe. And like, oh, I can't believe that happened. And then anger. And then frustration. Right? And then coupled with mourning. And then now, outrage. And then it just, and then it's like, it just turns into more and more things. It's the same with the price. So, and I think the price is kind of like, well, we don't really know what's going on with the Fed, because if the Fed comes out and says, oh yeah, we're going to lower rates, but not because the economy is good and other countries are also lowering rates, but we're going to lower rates because the economy sucks and we need to lower rates. If they say that, this coming Fed day, it could really put a wrench into things. So that's why if we shoot up here and we cut rates right here, I will be very nervous that we're going to have to do this. So it would be essentially, so what it would look like real quick is basically A, B, C. So kind of like A, B, and then C. So it'd just be a more complex 3-wave move. And then we go up. So that's really it. Those are the two options. Right? And it's all about the retrace, because we had point A, we have point B, right? And now if this is point C, then, that's the most challenging place to be, right? So this is a big week for sure. And that's why I wanted to come out with a little bit of an update. So if we look smaller time frames, we do have a 5-wave move. It appears to be. Let's look at the 2-hour chart. It appears that this could qualify as a 3-wave move. You could see 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a 5-wave move. Now, this looks like an A. This could come up in a B, and then we shoot down here for C, right? Right around Fed week. It would actually be tomorrow, right? Because usually they speak on either Wednesday or Thursdays. So if this wants to shoot up here and then come down on that Fed meeting, right? Because it's all about, if everyone expects, oh, they're going to cut rates, so the market's going to go up. If everyone's thinking that, then it's always the opposite at the initial start, right? So the Fed will cut rates, or it'll start pumping, right? And then, oh yeah, see what's going on? And then boom, it just massive dump. It's like, well, wait a minute. I thought they lowered rates. I thought we were going to go up. Well, because it's all news driven. It's all sort of, people, it's just narratives. The real effect of interest rates lowered has an effect on crypto bullishly long term. But in the thick of the moment, it could really go either way. So sometimes we get really good news and then the market dumps. Sometimes you get bad news and the market pumps. So it's like, well, what is it going to do? How do you know? Well, that's why we look at the wave structure and see the setup here. But essentially, what we see, is we have a lot of resistance right in here. Got a little bit of a cup, got a little bit of a head, or a shoulder rather. So if this kind of rounds up in here, we could possibly see inverse head and shoulders. So we could see, a measured move up here, 350 or 60 or so, which ain't such a bad thing. So I want to see this correct finish. I want to see that finish. And that would possibly mean, worst case scenario, we really want to hold above 288. We don't want to go below 288. We really should stay above $3, to be quite honest. But 288 is the 618 retrace. And then if we look at this, which is you take the top to the bottom, and let's say we go up for a standard retrace, then we are looking at A, B, and then C. So you're looking at 290. So 290 would make sense. Okay. And then from there, that's really when we want to start pushing. Okay, what about bearish? Well, to me, if it is bearish, then obviously we go back to our sort of, this is a B wave, A, B, C, and then we're going to have a big, violent, aggressive move down that's fast and furious, because that's how C waves work, right? They're pretty fast. Like, for example, this is a very bad example, but you could see how this is a 3-wave move, but the last move was very sharp and very sudden and quick, right? Same thing over here. This was pretty fast, right? Or right here, here's a really good example. So you have an A, a B, and then look how fast C. It just extremely fast and furious to the downside. Which really, when things move aggressively like that, it really shakes people up, and that's the point, right? They want to get that price as low as possible for liquidity. They're collecting liquidity at these levels. So that's pretty much it for XRP. Now, if we look at XLM, it has a much nicer, way more beautiful looking 3-way pullback, a lot more standard looking, right? I mean, look how beautiful it looks. I mean, it looks like a textbook 3-way pullback, which is, sometimes it could be concerning because it's like, that's pretty. That's too pretty. When they make it so nice looking, when they make it perfect like this, I mean, look at this. This is an impulse and a perfect 3-way pullback. I mean, that is like textbook right there. So when they make it like that, it could be a little bit, my eyebrows are raising, like, are they trying to trick me here? Like, what, is this too good here? And then one way they could do that is by simply giving us a flat. So A, B, C, and then we come down and hit the low, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that's your real low, and then we go up, and then it's more of a, it's more of a, a bigger ABC, right? So XLM looks great. I mean, it looks pretty much phenomenal if you ask me. I definitely would own this coin for sure. Basically, you're probably going to get more percentages with XLM than you would with XRP. So if you don't like XRP, I don't know why. I mean, it's just a coin. It's not real. Then, I would go with XLM. So, yeah, I think it looks phenomenal. Look at this. Look at the way that it sharply goes up and then it cups into the resistance. So it came down, it cups up, it comes down, it cups up. And what does that do? That gives us a cup and a handle. That gives us a W pattern. That tells us that this resistance is being knocked on the door. Knock on the door. Knock on the door. Eventually, we're going to pound on the door. And eventually, the door is going to break. So, and you can see we have a higher low, right? We have a, the only thing dangerous here is that we have a three-way move. And we're right in the retrace levels of this crash. So this was a sort of a crash, right? And we have a three-way move up. That's why it's so important. We have point A, point B, point C. We've been in point C for a long time on the macro. That's why it's been a little bit, intense. We're waiting to see how this is going to play. So this could, and then you can look at this. We also have 3 waves down. We have 3 waves up, and now we're flagging out. Let's go. Or this could be 3, 3, and then we could still get 3 down like this, and it could be a big 3, like a big flat, right? So we'll see if that's the case. But that's pretty much it. It's the same thing with XRP. So Bitcoin, Bitcoin looks pretty good to me. Still, right? You're pushing 3-way pullback. You're pushing 3-way pullback. You got some green here. Let's look at the weekly real quick. Let's look at the bull market support band. Look at that. That looks nice. So we perfectly back tested the bull market support band, and we have 3 pretty solid soldiers. They call it the 3 white soldier, but I don't really like. I don't like this one. This one needs to be a little bit more developed. But essentially, what this is if we go down here, we have right we have a 3-way pullback. We have a pump. We have another 3-wave pullback, perfectly back tested, inverse head and shoulders. We broke out, and now if we look close, and we look even closer, you could say, oh, it looks choppy, it looks corrected. Well, that's just, yeah, it is. It is definitely showing characteristics of, kind of the same thing. But it is corrective. That's because we're getting through these retrace levels. So there's really nothing here at the moment. You got a flat here. You got 3 there. You kind of got rejected in here. So if this could be another 3 down and then explode up. So if it would actually make sense. Like, I would hope to see if this comes down into the Fed decision, and then once we get that decision, then we go up. That would be cool. I think it is this week, and I think it's usually on Wednesday. I haven't been paying much attention to that. So yeah, the 2-day looks great. Remember, we had a 2-day 9 buy here. And I think, did we have a daily buy? Yes. Look at that. Look at that. Dude, look at this. We came all the way up. We had a 9 sell. It perfectly, basically called the top. I wouldn't say perfect, but then we came down, and then we came all the way up, and then we had another 9 sell, and that perfectly called the top. Then we came all the way down, and look at this. We had a 9 buy, and that perfectly called the bottom. So definitely get this indicator. If you want this indicator, it's this one right here, but it's not available. So what you have to do is type in trend reversal predictor right here. So just type that in, and you're going to have to modify it a little bit. You got the sequential 13s on there. If you know how to use that, just Google it. Say, how do I use TD sequential? How does it work? But basically what it is an exhaustion indicator. You want to use it with Elliott wave, right? You want to use it with other things. I use it with the bull market support band, Elliott wave, and basic TA, and it's really helpful. Basically, it's an exhaustion indicator letting you know when the price is becoming potentially exhausted to the downside. Now, it goes across all time frames, so you have to have a strategy with it. But essentially, yeah, it perfectly called it. And I mean, look at this. You had a 3-way pullback, that's number 1. You back tested the bull market support band, that's number 2. And you had a 9 buy, that's number 3. 3 strikes, you're out, let's go long. I mean, that's just kind of how you think about it. So that's Bitcoin. Now, Litecoin, it's not as nice looking. I just don't really like that flag there. It just seems like maybe we have to do something like that first, potentially, like an ABC, That's how it kind of seems to me at this moment. All right, let's look at Theta. So Theta, we are inside the bull market support band, so that's good. We're not completely getting rejected by it. We're starting to enter it. So if we get rid of that, remember, I'm looking at Theta as a potential Wyckoff down here, right? We have this little triangle that we're still working on, or a wedge. But once it's all said and done, and if this Wyckoff plays out and we break out, I'm expecting a full retrace. So that's sort of what we got to wait for. And it could happen soon. It could take a while. So there you go. Theta looking good. I mean, it's look, if you got a job and you are earning a paycheck, then I would just be fine and dandy. Like every time I get paid, I put like 5% of my paycheck into it, and I'm not even worried about it. If it goes down further, whatever. Like, because I know in my bones, and you have to have conviction. If you don't have the conviction, I can't give it to you. I can't tell you to buy Theta. This is not financial advice. I could be totally dead wrong. It could go to zero. You have to have the conviction that this is going to actually be something big. And not just Theta. I mean, any coin you pick, really, right? And what gives me the conviction? I'll tell you right now, it is the central banking, corrupt fiat currency, debt enslavement system that basically is the devil, honestly. So we have the financial system is one of the greatest cons in human history, right? So that's what blockchain is for. Blockchain is the truth. It is the light. It is full transparency. Now, there could be evil blockchains that they can control and stuff like that. But the base core of the technology is what? Is truth, right? It's transparency. That's why it's a trustless system. That's why people like Bitcoin. It's a trustless system. I don't have to trust anything. I just I trust the technology. So if we have a broken financial system and we have technology that is kind of ahead of its time, then that's your conviction. I mean, come on, it's pretty common sense where crypto is ultimately going to go. It's going to go to a $10 trillion market cap, without a doubt. It's just a matter of time. So if you're working at a job and you're earning money, I mean, there's nothing to be in a hurry about. Like, oh, hurry, I need it to happen now. No. if it takes longer, it's actually better, because I could tell you a quick story. When I bought Bitcoin for the first time, I wanted it to go to the moon very fast. And it did. It did, because I bought it in September of 2017 for the first time. It went up to 20,000. But when it got to 20, I didn't have a lot. Because I didn't have enough time to buy, right? If you've been buying for the last year, let's say you buy every 2 weeks, year after year after year after year after, that's a lot of crypto, right? And that's the point. So if you're in a hurry, if your bags are like, well, I don't care, my bags are set, I'm happy with what I got, let's go, then that's fine. But sometimes you think, whoa, I can't believe I have this many coins. And then like 8 months later, it's like, whoa, I got a scary amount of coins, you know? And it's like, you can never have enough, I don't think. I mean, because basically what you're doing is you're not buying crypto. People think, oh, I'm going to lose my money because I'm going to buy crypto. No, you're not doing that. What you're doing is you're converting your Federal Reserve debt notes into a cryptocurrency. So you're not going to lose unless it goes to zero. But if you just hold it, you know, you got to have at least a 2, 3, 4 year. I mean, really, you would really want a 10-year horizon. I mean, depending on how you view it, but you really want a lot of time. I mean, look at the stock market. How long has it been going up? It's been going up for over 100 years, right? So the stock market moves incredibly slow compared to crypto. That's why it's important to do this now. Because yes, in 25 years from now, people are still going to be investing in crypto, but it's not going to move the same it is moves now. You're not going to have these 50% days like, whoa, you know? So, and especially once more regulation comes, and, you know, it's going to be interesting how it all shapes up. But all I could say is my little rant here, you got to have conviction in what you hold. So, for example, here's the opposite of conviction. If I buy Theta right here, okay, and then let's say it comes down and it takes the low out, what do you think people would do? Would they buy more, or would they sell it because they got scared? The worst thing you can do is sell it, because then you are guaranteeing the loss. You don't necessarily have to buy more, but what you could do is what? All you got to do is wait. And if this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a triangle, and then we hit 5, and then we go up, right? Because that's kind of, you know, and I don't think that's the case, because I already think this is 5 waves. We have divergence. I don't know what's going on here. I think it's Wyckoff. I think we're consolidating. I think we're building a base, and I think we're going to break out. But if we don't, and I'm wrong, then this has to be 1, 2, 3. This is a 4. It's a complex 4. And then this is a triangle, and we're going to do 3, 4, 5. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you get the divergence. Then you shoot up. So we shoot up now, we shoot up later. So that's how I always look at it, right? So, you know, if it's a meme coin, then you got to be a lot more careful, right? You got to be way more careful. If it's a utility-driven coin like Theta, then, you know, you just have to know that eventually it's going to do what it needs to do, right? So we're still stuck in this triangle. You know, that's why I haven't been really active too much. It's just been kind of, you know, playing around in here. So we're just kind of waiting and seeing what's going on. So if this is A and this is B, we could still get C and then go up. Just like XRP, just like XLM, right? And then again, this would look like Wyckoff. You could say a shoulder, a head, a shoulder. Oh yeah, let's talk about that for a second. If that is an inverse head and shoulders, which I don't think I quite mentioned, but if we take a trend line, curious what the measured move would be. If you can count the wick, I'm actually going to count it this time because that's part of the head. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to get a rough estimate. And that looks like about $1.80. And that makes sense because that's kind of where our zone is at. This is our retrace zone where I believe the price is going to go. So we do have some resistance in here. This was a free fall, by the way. So if we could get through here, we can move up pretty fast. So let's see how it plays out. You know, October, November, December is usually really bullish for crypto. September, kind of a little bit of, well, I would say September, October is a little bearish. And then sort of the end of October, November, December is very bullish, especially November. And especially during election cycles. So, anyways, that's Theta. We pretty much got it covered. Super small time frames. If that means anything, it's really nothing too much there. Still looks corrective to me. You know, you could say this is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If this is A, B, C, we can, you know, that would be a nice move here. So, kind of the way I'm looking at it. Let's see. So someone mentioned Coin, so I'm going to look at Coin real quick. So Coin, I think it's pretty bullish on the macro just because you have 5 waves up, right? And then you have an A, B, C, D, E. You have 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3. So you have a perfect triangle, and you're like hopefully going to finish this soon. And if we do finish, then we can have a big move up. The problem is I don't really know what Coin, if it's relevant, if people care, if the technology is there compared to other coins. I'm not sure if it's going to get the same love that it did. I don't know how much inflation has happened between now and then. So it's a little challenging. But I would say you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have an A, B, C. So you're pretty much, you know, let's see if we can hold this in here. Maybe hit the low a little bit, but I want to see these lows hold, and I want to see us going up. If not, I'm not going to like it anymore. If we break this low, I don't really like it. I don't like it. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's look at, well, let's look at H-bar since it's here. I mean, H-bar is the same kind of thing, you know. You got an impulse, you got 3, you got 3. Question is this flagging out to breakout, or are we going to get 3 down? And it could be a WXY. So either breakout now or 3 down, breakout later. It's pretty much the same with everything. So let's look at Monero. So Monero, look at Monero. We finally had a move off the low, right? Remember, I think it nailed the bull market support band. Oh, no, it didn't. It actually fell below it. Okay, so that was something else. Let me take that off. So what we had here is pretty much a perfect back test, right? And Monero has impulsed up. You had a massive 3-way pullback. You back tested. You popped up. You flagged out. And now you got this big move to the upside. So that's cool. Let's see if we could keep it going. Let's see. 15-minute chart. Okay, so it must have been, all right. So you got a little bit of a descending triangle here. Let's see if we could break out. All right, let's keep looking here. So this is going to be similar to kind of like Theta. You're just, It seems like we're building a bottom. You had this massive crash. You're building a bottom. So to me, it seems like you got to round up and retrace. Pretty simple. Same thing with SHIB. SHIB, I wouldn't sleep on SHIB. I think if you're going to get any meme coin out there, I would say SHIB. I don't know. I don't have a really good reason except for the chart. I think the chart is probably one of the best looking ones out there, and it stood the test of time. It's not some one-off, Also, dog looks interesting, but SHIB, this is not the right SHIB chart. If I have the whole chart, here it is. You could see how nice that looks. Like you have a beautiful pump, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways. This whole thing is building a base, right? You look at this base, look at this base, 3-wave down, base, impulse, 3-wave down, base. What do you think happens next? Impulse. Pretty simple, but also it could be challenging. This also looks really interesting too because you have a shoulder, you have a head and you have what appears to be another shoulder. So if this son of a gun breaks out, it's going to be very, very interesting. Let's see here. Yeah, you're going to get all the way back to where we think it's going, which is like right up there. Now the question becomes, you have point A and you have point B. So point C. So that's why I believe that's where we're going, because we need point C. Once we get point C, the market is triangular. It's either the market is it's either at the bottom, or the market is usually high at the top, low at the bottom, or in the middle. That's where it's usually at. Right? So high is easy, low is easy, middle is very difficult. So once we get there, it's going to be challenging, because then where is Bitcoin at by that time? Is Bitcoin still good? Are we ready to go? Because I fully believe that SHIB will break out into new all-time high, provided we could break above that level. Very important level here. Boom, boom, boom. If we can get up here and kind of work your way up and then get the hell out of there, it could be a big move. So it could also take quite a bit of time. But there you go. That's SHIB. Let's look at Ethereum. Then we'll look at Bitcoin. The problem with Ethereum is that it just went up so much. It just went straight up, and it's kind of like, well, does it have more left in the tank for a little while? Does it need to cool off for a little while? We do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. We're kind of going sideways. So if this starts to come down and flag out, it's not bad. It just means, we need some chilling out period. This could be 3, and then 5. It could also be A, B, C, a flat, and then we have a 1, a 2, maybe another 1, 2, and then continue. So Ethereum is kind of, it's up or down, really. If I had to say, the trend is your friend, and the trend is up, right? So higher highs, higher lows. So I would assume we continue to go. If we take this low, if we start breaking this low, then I'm going to think, well, we need a little bit more of a correction. And if we do get that, then that's okay, because it actually needs it a little bit. Ethereum's been rocking and rolling. I mean, look how, it's came way the hell up here. I mean, we were at $1,400. Now we're at $4,500. So that's a big move for Ethereum. All right, where's Bitcoin at? So we looked at Bitcoin. Yeah. We already looked at it. So I think we're good. Okay, what about Trump? I mean, this one could be a big one. It could be. I just don't really know. At the moment, the volatility, you could see how you're descending and you're flattening out and volatility slowing. that is a scary thing because that could mean a crash. So I would rather wait for it to break out, get a three-way pullback, then buy it. That's how I would play that one. I wouldn't get it now. I mean, you could, but it's a little bit of a risk. Polygon, really nothing there too much. AVAX. So AVAX looks good. It's kind of like SHIB in a way. It's got the same kind of shape, right? You got that impulse, you got a three-way pullback, you know, you built that little zone, and you actually broke above the zone. So it's actually kind of leading the pack in a way, right? Which, if that's the case, then maybe others will follow suit. So I just don't. I hope this is not some kind of a rising wedge. That wouldn't be so good, because if it was, you know, and it was kind of like we could get a big move down and then something like that. So Litecoin, ADA. Let's look at ADA. ADA's definitely don't want to play around with this one, because this one is right at. You got resistance, 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 resistance. This is a big level, guys. So, and we've been basing in here. What? You have January, February. I would say February. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? 8 months. 9. Right? We'll say 8 or 9 months. So that's a big thing. So this is an 8 to 9 month base. And if we break out of it and you have all of these points, that's going to be a big move. So we'll see how that plays out. But, you know, you kind of got something going on here. So tomorrow, okay, so Wednesday and Thursday is usually the most bullish days of the week. Or I shouldn't say that, I should say more volatile. So it could be up or down. I think we could have a good week. But, you know, since it's the interest rate week, it could throw a little bit of a wrench into things. And I think there's going to be a lot of fake outs. There's going to be a lot of, oh yeah, it's going down. See, I told you it's going down. But then it goes up. And it's like, well, where did that come from? So you gotta let it play out, and you gotta stay zoomed out on that. So, but for ADA, it's really, I mean, on the short term, it's not so nice. You know, you have this pretty big dump, this impulse down. So you kind of correct it up, impulse down. So if this is, I mean, you could say that's 5. If that's an A, same thing with the others. If we go up in a B and then come down in C, I mean, I guess that could make sense. But I would be cautious in here. We probably do have some divergence too. Let's see. Bearish divergence, I should say. Right there, right there. So, yeah, I mean, let's see how this range plays out. You know, we gotta be watching and waiting, pretty much. Yeah, I don't like that. It looked like it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. It looks like it's kind of a bottleneck, or it could be WXYXZ. Link. See, technically, we've been going up since April here off this wave. So we've been going up and up. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then this could be A, B, and we still have to come all the way down for C before we go up. And it's like, well, and it feels like it's been going down. Does it feel like crypto's been going up to you? Because psychologically, it doesn't. Literally, yes, crypto's been going up, but psychologically, it feels like it's been going down. Even though Chainlink's it's at major highs, it hasn't been this high since December of last year, and then before that, you're looking at all the way back in 2021. So really, Link started here, and it's been going up and up and up, and it's been going up this whole time. So the trend is going up, but now we're stuck in these retrace levels, which makes it interesting, right? So, yeah, I just don't really like this shape for AVAX. You got a three-wave shape. I don't really like that shape. So, in order for that shape to change, we need a big push to the upside. So, I hope either this week or next week we get a big move up to the upside. So, that would really help out a lot of charts for sure. So, dog. The reason why meme coins like dog could be really, really good is because they have low market caps and they really haven't had a cycle. And if it's a big crypto like Bitcoin, meme coin, it could be interesting. So you have an impulse, three-way pullback. You have an impulse, you have a three-way pullback. So let's see how that plays. This one, boom. It's not as nice looking, but you got somewhat of an ascending triangle there. Theta, still waiting for a low to confirm. Near looks great. I like Near a lot. It looks like AVAX. It looks like SHIB. It looks like a few other ones out there. So yeah, we want to see this come up into the retrace, and then from there, then we have a whole nother problem, right? Theta Fuel. Well, Theta Fuel is same situation. You got three waves up, you got three waves down. So I want to see a fast 5-wave move up. I don't like the M. I wish it was a W. But, it's not the end of the world. Let's see. We just need more data. We need more price action. So we're building our base. Looks good. We had 5 waves down. We had a 3-wave move. So let's see if we can build support and break this range. XRP versus Bitcoin. I'd like to see XRP versus Ethereum. You know what? This is a triangle. This is a perfect triangle. You have A, B, C, D, and E. So if this is 1, 2, if this is 1 and this is 2, that could mean 3. So it looks like a triangle here. So we'll see if it looks pretty good as a triangle. Let's see if it plays out. So this would be 1, 2, 3. 4th wave triangle. Usually triangles appear in 4th waves. You have an impulse, you have an expanded flat, and you have a 1, 2, 3 and a triangle for a 4. So I'd expect it to break out. But then again, you have point A, point B, point C. You're in that C range. So those retrace levels it could seem like, yeah, it's going up and then something happens. So and a lot of times it could be news related. So that's why I'm just trying to prepare us for anything here. I'm assuming we're breaking up, but that doesn't mean it could be wrong. I mean that may mean it could be wrong, right? Filecoin. But one thing I'm not wrong on, and I believe full-heartedly, is my investment, and my investment is long. And so no matter how long it takes, I think we're going up. Without a doubt. Right? The big question is when moon? Well, Win Moon, well, I think it could be very close because I mean, just look at Filecoin. It's just the way it's just getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, and you would imagine, at some point we break it. So we got big events, right? The XRP ETF, we're still waiting for that. We're still waiting for other stuff going on, right? We got the interest rate stuff. So, all right, that's enough of that. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. As far as my thoughts about, Charlie Kirk and all that, I just hope that he wasn't sacrificed for I mean, did you see what was going on in the UK on Nick Shirley's channel? I mean, they are like having a revolution over there. So I don't know if his death was designed, quote unquote, so that this could spark this ignition in people, aka a turning point, aka a revolution, or like whatever you want to call it. I just hope that's not why. I know that that's what we're using it for, right? I mean, Charlie's wife said, like, you have no idea what you have just done. You have no idea what you have awakened, right? I wish I got a little bit more from Trump. I felt like Trump didn't give me enough. Like, I felt he was sorry. I felt like he was a little sad, but I just feel like I wanted to see more aggression. I wanted to see more like frustration. I wanted to see more emotion from Trump. But Trump, he's probably one of the best poker players. So, he has a country to run. He can't appear weak or anything. Like, you've never seen Trump yawn in your life. You will never see him yawn, ever. He's just kind of one of those people that are very cautious about how he's being perceived. But if he would have came out as, if I was president and that happened, I would be pissed and I would just be like, yeah, this is it. You guys aren't doing this ever again. And I would be just enraged. And I think that's kind of what I was looking for from him in a way, but I can understand why. But, there's conspiracies out there. Was this the deep state? Was this the guy that did it? Well, one thing is for sure. The fake news, the deep state, central banking system, the fake news, right? They are the ones, it's really the intelligence agencies, right? I mean, even Tucker Carlson, right? He even said it himself. You have the CIA, the three-letter agencies, right? They drop out pieces of information, and a lot of that is narrative driven by corporations, central banks that want people who own newspapers, people who own banks, people who have a lot of influence. They are connected into the CIA. They're connected with that. They work with them, and they drop out this information. The fake news picks it up, and they know it's wrong, and they produce it anyway. And then people are enraged over it, and then people die. So who's responsible? I mean, it really comes down to the media. So I feel like, Trump, he cares a lot about optics, but I would have came out and I would have said, I am removing CNN, MSNBC, AB. I'm removing all of your licenses. They have licenses to produce the news. Why are they allowed to have licenses if it's fake? And you can't take it away because of free speech. It's optics. Now think about that. If Trump did that, what do you think would happen? Everyone would freak out and say, oh, what about free speech? You're silencing them. See, there's a difference between knowingly lying and speaking the truth, right? Speaking what you believe is different than knowingly lying to the public for a reason that is a narrative. So you have the whole Israel thing, Now with Israel, I mean, Q did say that they're saving Israel for last. So Israel ain't no saint. I mean, they have their issues as well. I feel like I don't even want to say this, but like with 9/11, I feel like Israel has been bullied for so long in the Middle East, right? Muslims and Islamic, I mean, I'm not saying it's because of Muslim, but the Islamic terrorists, if you wanted to call that, they want to destroy Israel, right? They wanted to destroy them for whatever reason. And Israel just gets hit and hit and hit and hit. So what does Israel do? They fight back, right? So when you talk about 9/11, Israel at the time was like, well, come help us. Help us defeat this. They said, no, 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 no. And then we had 9/11, and now Israel's like, see, now you're going to have to help us because you guys got hit, right? Israel's like, well, see, how do you like it? You don't like getting hit, right? Remember 9/11, we got hit. And Israel actually liked it because it brought us into the war. That was the whole point. So it makes me think, well, maybe they had something to do with it, right? If you walked to school every day and you got beat up every day and your friend did nothing about it, and then one day you did not get beat up, but your friend did, you would feel actually, hey, I'm glad it's not me this time. It's finally someone else that got beat up. That's kind of how it is with Israel and the United States, because Israel's right in the middle in the Middle East. So I don't know. That's just my opinion as far as, you know, the religious, the God aspect of Israel and the Holy Land and the Christianity part. I mean, you know, that is what it is. But I feel like every country, even the greatest country on earth, our country, has big problems. I think they have a deep state within, you know, some people call it the Mossad, right? The deep state in Israel. There's a deep state within the United States. And what do these deep states do? They need war. Why do they need war? So they can continue their operations, right? And sometimes they make it appear, not Israel, but I'm just saying in general, they make it appear like something bad happened when really they created it to make the excuse to go to war. So I'm not saying I know the truth. I'm just saying, you know, there's things out there that are very questionable. And I feel like we will know the truth about 9/11. I believe that will come out. I believe it will. So, you know, they shot Charlie right in the neck. Okay? And nobody talks about this. He was shot with a 30-06. Okay? That is the same bullet used, if you ever played Call of Duty, that is the same bullet used in the M1 Garand. That's a big gun. Okay, so in the military today, what do they use? They use the 5.56. Okay, the 30-06 is 3 times bigger. The 30-06 is 3 times bigger than a 5.56. So Charlie got shot in the neck with a bullet 3 times as big as an AR-15 bullet. Wow. So he had no chance at all. And they shot him in the throat. And the throat is what produces what? The voice. Your freedom of speech. That's where it came from. And it just seemed like, I hope he wasn't, you know, chosen to take that hit so that it could lead into this. I'm not saying that's the case, but you just don't really know. So as far as the shooter, people say, oh, it wasn't him, it was somebody else. Well, whatever, it doesn't really matter who pulled the trigger. I mean, it obviously does, but what matters more is the narrative behind why they did it, right? It could have been a black man, a white man, a liberal, a left. It doesn't matter. It really didn't matter who shot him. It mattered what side shot him, right? And there was the whole trans thing and the bullets that had the engravings. How do we know they didn't plant that there to make it seem like that's what it was? You know what I mean? So I hope, obviously, I trust Kash Patel and his FBI findings, but again, we don't really know if they planted that gun or who knows, right? He's not being cooperative. He's not explaining why he did it. It's just odd, very strange. But one thing is for sure, there's going to be there's a lot of people celebrating. So those people are kind of victims in a way because they have been completely brainwashed into thinking that Charlie was some hateful person, and it's just ridiculous. We all of us want kind of the same thing, but we view it differently. So I don't know exactly how this story continues to unfold and develop, but we still don't even know who shot President Trump because I believe it wasn't that guy. That one I have a very hard time believing because there is video footage of, if you are a trained assassin, you do not shoot on the roof. You shoot inside of a building where you have cover. So, yeah, I think Trump's shooter was in the building, and I still think he's out there. So as far as like the Israel stuff, if you watch Candace Owens, basically she says, hey, there's some very interesting things going on with was it Troy what's his name, Adkins, as far as like Israel and Charlie Kirk, like did how some people say Israel sacrificed the Twin Towers so that we could join them in the fight against Islamic terrorism. And then some people say, well, if they could do that, then they could kill Charlie to join them in the fight against, right, all of the stuff that we're fighting. And it's just very strange to me. So I'm not saying it's Israel. And I love Israel. I love what it represents, but I know that we shouldn't just give Israel a free pass every time, because they are killing a lot of people. They're killing a lot of people. And you know what? I get it, but at the same time, it's just, who am I to say, yeah, you should or no, you shouldn't? I don't live there. I don't know. So I don't say it. But as far as Charlie goes, I feel like he was the future president of the United States, guys. This kid was going to be president. He was literally going to be president. I remember, I think he's 31, right? So I'm like 2 years older than him, but I remember listening to him right before, like in 2015, I started listening to this guy. And I just feel like, it just seems very strange. Very, very strange. So, anyways, I have more to this, but I already crossed an hour. I'll share more what I think later on. But let's not forget the target. What is the target? The central banks. And you could say, well, who controls the central banks? Well, there's a lot of Jewish influence in the central banks as well. The Federal Reserve, all that stuff. So, this is why we're in crypto, because this is not just a war over free speech. This is a war for the financial system. This is what it's all about, right? People fight for what? Money. That's what people do. They fight for money. They fight for power. And power is money, and money is power, and that's why crypto is so important, and that's why we should be, that is going back to my conviction. That's why I have full conviction in crypto, because I have no conviction in the current system. And if that's the case, then you opt out. And that's what you do. You opt out of the banking system, convert your dollars into crypto, and hold on. You know, as long as you got a job, you got a paycheck coming every week, 2 weeks. I mean, it's an easy thing to deal with, right? So, anyways, I mean, that should do it for this video. I was just looking at this NBC article. You know, they're seeking the death penalty. I don't know. I feel like it's not a popular choice, but I feel like we should have public executions like we used to have. Like back in the 1800s, in the Wild West, if you got caught bank robbing and you killed someone, they would hang you in front of the whole town and make an example out of you. I know that's never going to happen. I know that's barbaric and that's obscene and all this. But you know what? I think, you know, in China, they don't have these problems. If you get caught selling drugs in China, you die. They will kill you. That's why they don't have drug dealers, because they know they mean business, right? If we had way harsher penalties, I don't think we would have as much carnage. So, and if that was my family, you know, if that was my wife that got shot, or if that was, you know, one of your best friends or your brother, what would you want? What do you think the right punishment is? I think it should be public hanging. You know, you know, it sounds sad and sick, and what's wrong with you? But you know what? I think it's a very powerful thing. You know, Jesus Christ was crucified on the cross, and it sent a message, just like it sends a message when you do stuff like that. So, you know, if this person was to be, and here's the problem though, if he doesn't admit that he did it and he did it alone, then it's kind of like, well, maybe we're hanging the, maybe we're going after the wrong people, right? Because you also have George Soros, and I think he had something to do with this as well. George Soros, he's the guy that I don't think it was Israel. I think it was George Soros. I think he's the guy that had a lot to do with this. So, what comes next? Man, this kid's like 22 years old. Does it show him?
You have been watching that court hearing for the man suspected of shooting and killing Charlie Kirk last week on a campus in Utah. You saw the suspected assassin, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson there, not speaking, wearing what appeared to be some kind of green.
So, anyways, that'll do it for this video. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. And we'll see what the rest of we just had the daily close. By the way, we just had the daily close, and the candle is bullish for sure. For sure, the candle is bullish. So, let's see, Bitcoin. Bitcoin was also bullish. We had a bullish engulfing candle for today. I'd expect it to come down and retest maybe 50% of that candle by tonight, midnight. And then maybe tomorrow morning around, you know, or afternoon, I would like to see some continuation. So, we'll see how it plays, but I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.